All right, looks like we're rocking and rolling. Okay, again, good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday, June the 3rd, 2025. And with that, Glenn, hey, welcome, man. Glad to have you here, bro. We got you on mute right now still. There you go.
Hey, thanks for having me, Luis. I'm
Oh,
excited to be here.
man, I started using you guys with a couple of VAs, one on the insurance side, one helping me out with some go high level stuff. And guys, I'm going to start off with this. Okay. We all need to hire staff. At some point, here's what happens. A lot of you guys are one man shows and it rock. I mean, it does well. You're doing everything. You're wearing the sales hat. You take the sales hat, you put on your customer service hat. You take that off. You put on I'm running the agency, your CEO hat. And for a good while, it works perfectly. Like nobody can do what you do for your agency. So you're rocking and rolling. Then the oh, damn, something happens moment. And that is when something is going to give. You can't keep up with the flow anymore. Either you're going to let your agency operations go down the toilet because you're focusing on something else. Your customer service is you're either going to focus on that and you're going to quit selling because you're focused on that, or vice versa. You focus on sales, but what you're bringing in the front door is going out the back door because you're not taking care of the back door. So a lot of things that we agency owners have to deal with. So at some point, it makes sense to bring on a new hire. Now the decision is this, guys. Before we talk about what Glenn's going to talk about, the decision is this. Do we hire somebody physically or virtually? Kind of make a decision. There's a cost analysis in there. There is the somebody physical in front of you analysis that you can control. I mean, there's a lot of factors that determine which way is good to go. Now, I am 12 people strong, and I still have a virtual assistant. So it's a decision that every agency owner needs to make. And with that, Glenn from Hire Heroes, these guys come in and they have virtual assistants that help insurance agents. Glenn, I'll let you kind of take over, talk about your company and what you guys do for us insurance agents.
Awesome. Yeah, again, I appreciate you having me on, Luis, and excited to talk to you guys about virtual staffing and how you can plug a virtual assistant into your agency and really help you grow. I myself was a final expense agent for many years. I got licensed almost 13 years ago now. And the first 2 years, I spent probably close to half my week either on the phone, setting appointments for myself, following up with the carriers on applications that got submitted, doing, customer service with people who had returned my calls, things that didn't generate me revenue directly, right? Not saying that these weren't important tasks, especially something like setting appointments, which is a major sales activity, right? That's where I'm going to actually be generating my highest grossing revenue, but I wasn't actually generating that revenue when I'm setting the appointment. So I got to the point after about 2 years of selling Final Expense where I just was so burned out. I felt like there had to be a better way. There had to be a way where I could get someone who, at an affordable rate, who could help me handle these low revenue or even no revenue generating tasks and allow me as the agent to focus on my highest revenue generating tasks. So what I'd like to do, I'll actually share my screen here. I've got a few slides I want to show you guys, um, just to kind of illustrate a lot of what Luis just touched on right there, about some of the reasoning why this makes so much sense to bring someone in. Again, whether you're hiring someone locally or you're working with a virtual assistant, I think it makes all the sense in the world to eliminate those low revenue to no revenue generating tasks so you can focus on what's absolutely most important and going to make you the most money. So let's
While
see.
you mentioned that,
Yeah.
Glenn, there was I've been almost in business for almost 25 years. And I had a guy early in the industry tell me, man, this business is rough and a lot of people don't make it. I don't know what the actual numbers are, but maybe 2 out of 10 actually survive the initial. And he was like, Luis, I'm just going to tell you right now, you're going to get burned out if you keep doing things you don't like to do. Okay. Hire out what you don't like to do, like the lower generating revenue kind of stuff. You focus on the higher revenue generating stuff. So
Yeah.
some of you new guys, if you don't like appointment setting, if you don't like customer service, now we're all salespeople. That's kind of hard. Maybe you want to duplicate yourself on that one and up your sales. But if there's things on there that don't generate a lot of revenue, you should be thinking, that's what I want to hire somebody for. Go ahead, Glenn. Sorry about that.
No, absolutely. And what's funny is I just recently read Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. Fantastic book, highly recommend it. And one of the things Dan talks about in that book is if you're doing something that you don't like to do, and you feel like as a business owner, you're taking one for the team, I've got to do this. Well, there's actually someone out there who is good and enjoys at doing those tasks that you don't like doing. And it's scientifically proven that if you are doing something you don't like to do, you're most likely doing it worse than someone who enjoys doing it. So not only are you upset and you're wasting your time, most likely wasting money, but there's also someone out there that you could pay to do it who's going to do a better job than you. So yeah, I think again, great point, Luis. So just a few slides I want to get into here to kind of really illustrate these points. So, why you should consider hiring more people, saving your time, reducing your stress, grow faster, all these things that we already kind of touched on right there. Here's where I think some of you get lost in the sauce of, well, it's only 15 minutes of my time, it's only an hour of my time. I get so focused on these repetitive tasks that build up over time. It might only be 15 minutes today, but if I'm doing this every single day, you're talking about 5, 6 hours a month. And that really starts to add up, especially when you realize exactly how much your time is really worth. So, just to give you an example, let's say you're grossing $100,000 a year. Your gross revenue on average would be somewhere in the ballpark of $50 per hour. And this continues to scale with the more revenue you're generating as an agent, as an agency. If you're generating $1 million per year, your average is about 500 per hour. So once you have this ballpark number of what your time's worth, this will always be fluctuating, right? Should be going up. Now you know when you're doing a task, if I can pay someone and they can come in at 10, 20, even $30 an hour, right? If it's less than what your time is worth and you can pay someone to come in and do it, chances are, even if they're doing it just 80% of the quality that you're doing it, right? And I'll go back to that appointment setter analogy. When I hired my first appointment setter as an agent, they were not setting appointments as good as me. And I was very close to firing them right away, but I really wanted to just kind of see it out. I wanted to give it some time. I wanted to see how it would work. So I gave it a month. And what I realized is that even though the quality of the appointments being set were not as high quality as me setting my own appointments, it was close enough that I was still making way more money by delegating this to someone else, by giving this to an appointment setter and getting my time back to really focus on selling in the field. So, you know, part of this process when you're hiring someone is doing an accounting of your time, figuring out where you are spending your time on a week to week, day to day, month to month basis. Some of you might have a good idea of where your time's going. Some of you might not have really any idea. So doing an accounting, you can look at your calendar. You can talk to, if you have someone in your office that you're working with, you can talk to them about, what did I do last week? What was I doing yesterday? Figuring out where your time's going is super important because this is where you can start to get your time back. And this is where you can start to figure out what you can delegate to somebody else. Now, for me, this is the holy trinity, you guys. These are the three steps to really increase your output and to really get your time back. Eliminate, automate, and delegate. And this is a continual process. This is something that really never goes away. I still use this process to this day all the time. When I'm going through my again, that day to day, week to week, month to month, I'm figuring out what tasks or what things am I doing or what things is the company doing that can be eliminated, that don't need to be done anymore, that are, history, old news. And then if it's something that can't be eliminated, can we automate it using tools and technology like Go High Level? Is there something that can be done where, Zapier is automatically moving this information over and no one has to manually get in there and move this information from one part to another. Now you're removing the human element from it. That's almost as good as eliminating it, right? And now, the third step here, if it's important and you can't eliminate it and you can't automate it, delegate it, hand it off to someone else and protect your time, right? These three steps, by continuing to utilize these three tools over and over and over, you can continue to protect your time and hopefully get more and more time back. And that ultimately should continue to grow your revenue as well because you're focusing on only the most important things. So just this gets into some more details about the eliminate, automate, delegate, what some examples. Um, you know, an illustration of how much you're wasting, how much of your time, which again, time is money, right? How much of your time are you wasting on these low revenue generating activities? Well, let's say you're spending 10 hours a week on admin tasks, appointment setting, customer service, following up, stuff that doesn't have to be you. And let's say your time is like we were looking at in an earlier slide. Let's say your time's worth about $50 per hour. So that $10 per hour on these low revenue, no revenue tasks, you're spending essentially $2,000 a month. That's that loss. That's what you're not seeing. And again, the more revenue you're generating, the more valuable your time is, the bigger that loss is when you're doing things that you really shouldn't be doing, these admin level tasks. So now you can flip the script though. What does it look like if you start delegating? Again, whether this is a virtual assistant or somebody sitting in the office, right? Let's say, again, for this example, you're paying $10 per hour for a virtual assistant. That same $2,000 loss that we just looked at in a previous slide, if you were to delegate those tasks and have a virtual assistant handle it, now you can flip the script and you're actually making money, right? And again, the more revenue you're generating, the bigger gain you get when you're delegating out these low revenue, no revenue generating tasks. So again, you know, Luis, I think, did a really great job of setting the table here of what is best for you might not be best for me, might not be best for the other agent. So you have to really kind of figure this out. There's some self-awareness that is required to figure out, does a virtual assistant fit for what I'm trying to do here? Do I need someone locally? There's a lot of pros to hiring virtually, and I'm going to go through some of those right here for you guys. So, you know, if you don't have a physical location, I know some of you are working from your home. Hiring a virtual assistant can really help jump that hurdle, right? You don't need anyone to come over to your house. You don't need to go run out and lease an office building. A lot of times in person leads to higher costs. We've seen a lot of inflation here in the US over the past 5 to 10 years. And I go to, if I'm driving through McDonald's, I'll see a sign that says a starting wage is 18, 19, $20 per hour, right? So if you're having to compete with McDonald's to hire someone to come in and help you with some of these low revenue, no revenue generating tasks, that means you're probably going to have to be spending at least $20 an hour. And I
Yeah.
can tell you right now, based on some of the conversations I've had with agents, there's certain parts of the country where it's even higher. $25 per hour, $30 per hour to get some basic talent in the door. It's crazy. It's very expensive. taxes, right? So working with a virtual assistant or working with a virtual staffing company like Hire Heroes, you don't have to worry about payroll taxes, right? W-2 taxes. It's all tax deductible. You don't have to worry about any of that. And then scalability. This is a big one for me. If you have a system in place, you have an appointment setter, right? Let's say you hire someone, it's going really well. You can go back to the well now and scale faster typically than when you're trying to find somebody locally. Again, it's just an extra hurdle, right? If you're trying to find someone locally, because a lot of times there's less people, pay more, etc. Now, again, for those of you who've never worked with a virtual assistant, this is a question I get a lot is, well, how would I train a virtual assistant, Glenn, if I were to hire someone? They're not sitting in my office, they're not sitting in front of me. How does this work? There's a lot of tools now that can really help with getting the specifics of what you want someone to do and easily handing it off to someone just like you're sitting in a room with them, right? I mean, it's 2025. Zoom, obviously, we're on it right now. Great tool. But one of my favorites that I use all the time, I just used yesterday, was Loom. Loom allows you to quickly record a video of yourself and your screen, and you can just go through what's on your screen and also have yourself on the screen and just give a quick outline of, hey, this is what I've got going on. I need your help doing XYZ. It could be as short as 90 seconds. I've done 10-minute long looms, just depending on the task I'm trying to hand off. But that's one of my favorite delegation tools is Loom. And then written instructions. So some people will just do videos, some people will just do written instructions. I like to kind of have multiple redundancies in place essentially when I'm training someone. So I'm giving them a short video. I'm also going to give them some written instructions so they can see that. This could be a checklist. This could be just a quick paragraph. SOPs, again, standard operating procedures. So I think having multiple ways of explaining to someone what you want them to do is really helpful with them being successful. Then checking and reviewing their work. So when I hire someone, I am going to be micromanaging them for a brief time. Typically that first week, I'm going to be spending a lot of time with them, making sure they understand what I want them to do. Again, this kind of varies based on the task. If it's something basic like appointment setting, I might not have to spend as much time with them. If it's a more complex task like customer service, admin work. I'm going to have them calling carriers, like all that type of stuff. Now I might have to spend a lot more time training them, and it might be even longer than a week. But as you start to see success over time, you start to step back and you don't have to worry about being as involved anymore. So there is kind of a time investment on your end up front when you hire someone. And again, and this you can't get out of this, whether it's in person or virtual, investing your time into this new hire is important to get them to be able to handle these tasks that you need them to do. Checking in, daily, weekly meetings. We have a lot of reoccurring meetings that we have to check in with team leaders and employees and make sure that they understand what's going on and that milestones are being hit. Now here's an important one is what can a virtual assistant actually do? Again, if you've never worked with a virtual assistant before, you might be wondering this. What can a virtual assistant actually do for me in my company? So at hireheroes.com, we have a list of 100 tasks that we've either previously or currently done for us at our company. So you'll see that right at the top of the page and you can
Yep. See.
grab that. Um, but so before we get into some more of these specific tasks, I love this analogy. How does a doctor run their business? Do you ever call a doctor's office and get the doctor on the phone? No. The doctor's not the one answering the phone. The doctor's not the one managing the calendar. The doctor's not the one qualifying you when you walk in the back, right? You got someone at the front desk who's handling his calendar, handling the appointments. You've got the nurse who's qualifying you, taking uh, your vitals, right? Your pulse, your blood pressure, your temperature, talking about what's going on. The doctor's only doing the highest revenue generating activity. They're just coming in to diagnose you and assess and offer treatment. And that's how you can operate your business, right? So, three of the most common roles a virtual assistant can do. So, there's that task list. You can get really granular with tasks. I found a lot of times it's easier to think about this in a role setting. So, administrative assistant, this would be your first hire, in my opinion. If you are starting to feel bogged down, like I was, again, as an agent, as soon as you start spending more than 5, 10 hours a week, I would say if you're spending more than 10 hours a week doing basic admin work, it's probably time to start looking at hiring someone. So, what does an administrative assistant do? As a virtual assistant, they can manage your email inbox, right? If you have a company email, you don't need to be monitoring it anymore. You can have a virtual assistant monitoring it for you, and if anything important comes up, they can alert you right away. You can even give them some canned responses. So if they know, okay, this email came in and it was someone wanting to schedule an appointment, they send out an appointment link or they schedule that appointment on your behalf right there. Super easy. Handling inbound, outbound phone calls. Again, this was my number one as an agent. I was spending 10 to 20 hours a week, every single week on the phone, setting my own appointments, following up with old leads, following up with customer service calls, following up with the carriers. They can handle all of those calls for you guys. So, again, huge time suck. Being on the phone, a virtual assistant can handle those calls for you. And of course, managing your calendar, right? Again, appointments can come in from all over the place. It could be an email, it could be someone calling in, it could be the virtual assistant calling leads on your behalf. So there's many different ways you could get an appointment on your calendar, and you can just offload all of that onto an admin assistant. Support staff. So, if you already have an admin assistant, you can have a virtual assistant come in and do some additional kind of back end work, is how I view this. CRM management. So a lot of us have CRMs, a lot of us don't use them or they're underutilizing them. Data entry, all sorts of data entry LC agents do. It kills me with this one because it's such a low level task. I mean, you're talking about something that's easily a $10 an hour task that you should never be doing. And bookkeeping, another huge miss I see from a lot of you. If you're not tracking the money coming in and out, it's going to be hard to really grow. You also might have those months where you're like, what happened? Where did the money go? And just keeping the dollars and cents in check is a really easy way of, avoiding some of these pitfalls. Luis talked about how many agents fail out of the business earlier. If you don't do any bookkeeping, if you're just kind of flying by the seam of your pants, that's an easy way to fail out of this business, you guys. And you can hand that off to a $10 an hour virtual assistant. They can put all of that in a spreadsheet, use QuickBooks, right? Simple software for accounting that allows you to stay on top of your money. So that's a great one. And this is the third, probably most, we have virtual assistants handling all sorts of tasks. Again, you can see that 100 task list, Hire Heroes, but this is probably the third biggest or most important role is social media management, posting content, handling chats or comments, managing your business pages. This one was a huge miss for me, again, as an agent, as an agency owner. I really struggled with being active on all these different social media platforms. I would post something, but then I would miss the comments, or I would create the content and I would forget to post it because I got too busy. Business pages, if you're running ads through the business page, there's stuff like managing how much your ad has actually gets turned off on a certain day or certain time. This is a huge time suck, you guys. Social media in 2025, if you're not on social media in 2025 for your business, you're probably going to be left behind at this point. Whether you like social media or not, it's just kind of the world we live in now. So because this is so important, but also such a huge time suck, a huge advantage to delegate this to a virtual assistant. The only catch here is having a virtual assistant actually create content for you. We're not quite there yet. AI, there's a lot of AI tools that can help for sure, but this is more about the management side of it. You know, if I were to recommend something as to you as an agent, it would be to do something like create a video. You know, you sit down, you record yourself, you do a 5, 10 minute video talking about something like final expense, you know, a certain insurance product. And then you can pass that video off to your virtual assistant. They can cut it up, they can post it on different platforms, maybe create a little paragraph of what the video is about, you know, monitor the comments, all of that stuff. You know, it's again a huge time suck, and they can handle all of it for you. So this came from that 100 task list. Again, just more ideas of different tasks a virtual assistant can handle for you. One of the big ones I'll mention on here that I think gets missed by a lot of agents is the prescription doctor search. So I know as a Medicare agent, the talking about, you know, hey, are these all the prescriptions you're on right now? What dosage? What doctor are you with? This can be another huge time suck. So all of that research and gathering all that information can be done by a virtual assistant, and then they can just hand over the results to you. Hey, here's all the prescriptions Mrs. Jones said she's on. This is the doctor she says she's working with. It looks like these would be the best PDPs for her. I'm going to hand this off to you as the agent. You can double check and then call Mrs. Jones up and say, hey, it looks like, you know, Aetna is going to be the best option for you here based on everything I'm seeing. Saving you tons of time, right? And there's just more and more and more as you can continue to kind of read on this list. So,
Hey, Glenn, I was going to add to
yeah,
that. So the virtual assistant that I had, and this is adding to the more task. So in
yeah,
the Medicare world, if we lose contact with our seniors, and because they, again, I would tell agents by lunchtime, these seniors have no idea what they had for breakfast. Okay, they forget.
correct.
They're going to forget
Right.
you. Well, you can get your virtual assistants. You know, you write a policy, call them up in 2 weeks. Hey, Mrs. Jones. Hey, I'm Luis Moreno's assistant. He wrote your policy about 2 weeks ago. Have you received your packet from carrier ABC? Well, oh yes, awesome. Well, I'm glad you have your card, and that's it. And then they could follow up a month later. Hey, have you taken advantage of this benefit and that benefit? So they can keep in contact with your clients. Now, the one thing that I had my assistant doing, and this is on the ACA side of the house. Well, you guys know that when you write an ACA policy, probably 7 out of 10 go through without any eligibility requirements. The other three do. Okay. Right now, I get an email from Health Sherpa every Tuesday with a list. My list is about 80 people that need something. They either need to produce income, a social security card, a certificate of birth, citizenship. You got to come up with something. Well, my virtual assistant is calling. Hey, Mr. Jones, you're going to lose your policy. Your rate's going to skyrocket. We need to have this document. Hey, you need to send this to us. Now, do you want to be doing that as the agency owner, or do you want to have somebody else doing that for you so that you can focus on other activities that are going to bring more money in? Because if you don't take care of those eligibility requirements, guys, those policies are going to lose subsidies and they're going to skyrocket. And your insureds aren't going to keep it, so you're going to lose a policy. So you got to think about that. Okay. A 4 member household is $1,000 gone annually. So it is
Yep.
super, super important that you keep you have some kind of system in place so that you don't lose your eligibility. And then Glenn, I was kind of listening to your or not kind of, but listening to your, hey, one of the things is
Yeah.
I don't have it here handy, but I have a sheet of paper where I collect all my data. It's an intake form. And you're right, man.
Yeah.
I don't want to go check doctors and meds. Hell no. In
Right.
fact, most of the
Right.
time, I don't even want to collect the data. Man, I got better
Yeah.
things to do. So you know what? Hey, my assistant's going to get all your information. Okay, I'm going to do the research, even though I know my assistant's going to do the research. Hey, just give her all your doctors, your medications, put them into a sheet. We're going to find the best plan for you. Now, there's a lot of agents that think, hey, the one-time close, I'm not a one-time close kind of guy or one call close. I mean, I'm like, you know what? Let me go do my research. Let me find the best plan for you, even though a lot of times I do close on that one call, but I'm super busy, guys. I got a lot of irons in the
Yeah.
fire. So there's a lot of things that your virtual assistants can help you with. Go ahead, Glenn.
Yeah, I think that's a really great point. I mean, client retention's on here, like Luis was just kind of talking about there with on the ACA side of the business. And I think this is so, again, as when I think back as an agent, over 10 years ago when I'm first getting started, that was such a big miss for me. Is I always felt like I was almost too busy to try to retain clients, and I was just so focused on writing new business. I would let a lot of clients slip through the cracks, and you can really kind of shore up these potential losses by having a virtual assistant staying on top of these clients. Because, like Louise said, when you're working with seniors, they get really forgetful. They forget to, premium bounces, they forget to submit payment, etc. On and on and on. It goes on and on. So, yeah, I think that's a great point, Louise. Yeah, so we'll kind of jump ahead. So, common mistakes. I want to touch on this because I do see a lot of common mistakes. Poor communication. So I started Lead Heroes in 2015, and that's our lead company. But I got a lot of people asking for questions about, can I have an admin? I just want a virtual assistant. So then we started Hire Heroes in 2021. So since 2021 till now, we've had probably close to 200 virtual assistants that we've brought on and gave to you guys, gave to agency owners. So this one, I can tell you right now, the communication part of this is everything. This is what separates successful virtual assistants and people who stick around for years versus someone who doesn't figure it out for you. We've had agents come in, buy a virtual assistant from us, and they barely say a word to them, and then they get really upset that the virtual assistant didn't read their mind and know exactly what they want them to do. That sounds crazy to some of you. I'm sure it does. I couldn't believe it when I ran into some, and then I started to see this pattern because there were many agents out there doing it. You can't not communicate to your employee, to your assistant, what you want them to do. You have to make it super clear. Otherwise, they will not be successful. I promise. It will be a failure. So communication super important. Just like I talked about earlier with, doing meetings, writing things down, doing videos, all of that stuff can be super beneficial. Standard operating procedures, again, having it written down, having a task list. If it's a repetitive task, having an SOP in place will keep them from coming back to you over and over. Hey, Glenn, what do I do now? Hey, Glenn, what do I do now? Right? Nobody wants to field the same question over and over. Lack of training, lack of patience. This can take time. If it's a really basic task like data entry, yeah, it's probably not going to take a lot of training on your end. It's, hey, take the data from here and type it into here. That's really easy, right? But if you're wanting like a complex, like a full-blown admin assistant to handle like all of your front end stuff, it's like a virtual front desk for you. That might take some time to train them. So again, realizing that you're going to have to invest some time up front and be a little patient as they're figuring things out, how you want them to do it. And then not fully utilizing their time. So you're not giving them enough to work on, you know, then they're doing things that maybe aren't the most important. That happens all the time at our company is we'll have these huge lists of tasks that need to be done, but then all of a sudden they start working on something that's not the most important, so we're not fully utilizing their time. So making sure that they know what the priority is and they stay focused on what's most important. So I already mentioned this a little bit earlier is the 80% rule. Again, Buying Back Your Time by Dan Martell, fantastic book. He mentions this exact rule. If someone can come in and handle a low revenue or no revenue generating task and they can do it even 80% as good as you should absolutely delegate it to them. It will most likely never be as good as you're doing it. Now, sometimes you'll see that there's certain tasks you're doing where maybe someone you can bring someone in and they'll do it even better than you. But if it's something you're really good at, like it was for me, appointment setting, the 80% rule is really what I had to focus on. Is, hey, you know what? They're only at about 80, 85% of how good I'm doing it, but that's okay because I got all this time back and I'm making more sales and I'm running more appointments. So it was a net positive for me for sure. So one of the sayings I have around here is if you don't have an assistant, you are the assistant, right? So you're doing these assistant level tasks, so you are the assistant, right? Just like I was. I was spending 10, 20 hours a week doing admin work until I finally hired someone to come in and help me with it. So just wanted to go through a few slides with you guys this morning, ask some questions out, and then if you want, we can get more specific into kind of the cost of Hire Heroes and how Hire Heroes works as well. So just wanted to open it up here for a minute though and see if anybody had any questions.
If you want to unmute or if you want to type your question, go right ahead and I'll ask Glenn. I'm going to add this to the thought process of an agent is a lot of agents are like, when do I hire? Okay, so the thought process is, do I wait till I get there and then hire, or do I hire now so that they can help me get there? So it's, do I hire when I'm there or do I hire before? I like the thought process. My thought process is always this. I can wait to hire. Okay. I can definitely wait to hire when I get there, whatever that there is for every agent. But it's going to take me a long time to get there. If I hire before I get there and have a plan, that assistant will help me get there a lot quicker. That's number one. Number two is in my office, I classify my people into two categories. They're either profit centers or they're cost centers. That's it. They're either going to make me money or they're going to cost me money. And if they're costing me money, I got to get rid of you, as I'm not a bank and I can't print money and I don't have a trust fund. That's simple. You're taking money away from me and I got
I
to take
don't
care of
have a
you.
trust.
It's that simple. I mean,
I
mom and dad
love
didn't leave
it.
me, so,
I don't have a trust fund.
yeah, I
I'm
don't
gonna
have a
use that
trust fund.
one.
Man, no trust fund for me, man. I gotta bust my butt like everybody else. But I tell them, look, at this stage, I don't care if you make me money. Okay. We can even break even. In fact, if we break even,
Yeah.
I'm awesome because I'm going to win in the long run. Okay.
Yep.
All right. So I'm super happy not making money, although I would, but I'm super happy not making money and breaking even. So, whoever that assistant is, there's got to be, if you're paying them 2,000, they got to make at least 2,000. Otherwise, they're costing you money. So you got to start
Yep.
thinking the activities that they're doing, you got to put a dollar amount to them. If they're retaining a client, guys, that's worth money because if they don't retain it and you lose it, you just lost money. So even though a customer service rep may not actually make money, but they keep money. So there's a dollar value to that. Anyway, that's just kind of my thought process. I really like having a person who can help me, who comes in before and helps me get there a lot quicker. Okay, that's number one. Guys, any questions? Unmute, please. Ask Glenn. We've got him on here. Maybe the question is, and I'll ask the first one. I already know this, but some of you guys may be thinking, hey, I might want to consider this. What is it going to cost me? So let's tackle that, Glenn.
Yeah. I'm gonna share the website here really fast, you guys, because we've got a lot of great information on there. And it also goes through the cost as well. So give me just a second, I'll get that pulled up.
And while he's doing that, guys, I did on the chat. If you decide that you want to jump in with a virtual assistant, I posted my link on there. It's the same. You're going to pay the same amount. It's a partnership that I created with Glenn. Use my affiliate link on there, and then they will. I'll kind of share what happened with me. Once I got my VAs, I told them this is what I want, a VA that's going to help me do this, and a VA that's going to help me do this. They will go out and find the VA for you. Okay. And then you get to interview the VA. You get to have a Zoom meeting. So they start off with a three-way Zoom, and then the main person comes off, and then you have a one-on-one hiring event or interview event. And you talk to that person, you get to feel who they are, you get to share what they do, what you want them to do, and you kind of make a decision if this person's going to be right for you or not. And if not, you move on to the next one. Very easy. And I will just tell you that with the one that I had, okay, one that I have, a workhorse. Okay. But anyway, go ahead, Glenn.
Yeah, so and I appreciate you sharing that, Luis. Um, and we can get into more specifics of kind of how the process kicks off, but to get into the cost of this, right? So part-time. So if you wanted to pay the minimum, which is for 80 hours, so you're paying for these hours, they essentially go into a virtual wallet, and you can see that time kind of tick off as your virtual assistant is working inside the platform. Um, at 80 hours, you're paying $11 per hour. So that is the minimum purchase, and then you can have that person work essentially as little as you want, because we want this virtual assistant to be focused on you. You know, if you have someone that's only working 2 or 3 hours a week, they're going to be busy doing other stuff, right? So you'll see there's kind of a sliding scale here based on how many hours you pay for. So if you hire someone full time, they're working 40 hours a week for you. Now you're saving about 10%. You're at $10 per hour. Then if you're going to prepay for someone to work for 480 hours, which would be full time for a quarter for 3 months, get this down to $9 per hour. We have some agents and agency owners who are hiring essentially like small teams from us. So they might have three full-time virtual assistants, and so they're essentially getting the $9 per hour rate just when it's a month at a time, right? Because they have three or more full-time virtual assistants. Um, the process, so like Luis was talking about there, and again, hireheroes.com, we got a bunch of information on there, including being able to get this 100 task list, the free PDF. But um, once you reach out, there's a 2-minute questionnaire. So when you click sign up now, when you go again, go through that link that Luis dropped in the chat, you'll enter your information here, and then it's going to ask you. There's really two basic questions we ask. You know, one is what task are you looking to have help with, and what software are you wanting the virtual assistant to work with, and how many virtual assistants are you looking for? Once we have some of this basic information, we can begin hunting for who on our team would be the best fit for you. Then we're going to schedule a quick Zoom call, just like we're on right now. You'll be able to spend about 15 minutes with this virtual assistant, talk to them, get to know them a little bit, make sure it's a good fit for you, and then you can decide you want to move forward. And then that whole process, typically from the time that you submit your information until we do the Zoom meet and greet, and then they're starting to work for you, it's typically a business week or even less. So somewhere between 2 to 5 business days. We can have a basic, you know, they're not going to know everything, but they're going to have a basic amount of training in place. And we're going to be able to, again, kind of transplant them directly into your company, into your agency, and hit the ground running, right? I mean, that speed of, you know, this is something I've talked a lot about too, is the traditional way of hiring someone. If you go out and you put out job listings, and then you get the resumes, and you go through the resumes, and then you go through the interviews, and you do the interviews, and then you decide to hire someone, that process can take 2 to 3 weeks. I know because I've done it many times. It can take 2, 3, 4 weeks. So this, we're really scaling down your ramp time from the time you need to hire someone until they're actually getting started. We've got it dialed down to about 2 to 5 business days. So that's how speedy quick we've gotten it. And also, if you're not happy with your virtual assistant for any reason, they're guaranteed. So we can go back to the well and find someone else. If a week goes by, you know, this doesn't happen very often, but when it does, we easily can find someone that you can, again, jump on another Zoom call with, kind of have make sure it's a good connection, that you feel like this is a good fit, and then hit the ground running. So guaranteed happiness with the virtual assistant that we're placing in your company. So any other questions in the chat? Anything else that I've missed so
No,
far,
no,
Luis?
nothing has popped up. Guys, unmute bottom left-hand corner. You got the little microphone if you want to ask Glenn a question. You can ask me a question. I have the VAs, you know, maybe my experience or whatever you want to ask. Feel free. But it does take a little leap of faith. You know, those of you that haven't hired, it's a big decision to hire, guys. I mean, even at my 12 people, man, you know, and I'm bringing on one more. It still hurts me. I'm like, "Oh, God, you know, I have experience with this, and it's still, oh, I have to do
Yeah.
my analysis. I got to run it with against the wife. I'm like, hey, what do you think? You know, help me with this decision. and it's not easy. Anyway, guys, don't feel bad about interrupting me. What do you got, guys? Unmute. Hit
Good,
Glenn.
good morning,
Good morning.
Luis. Do you have bilingual?
Yes, we do have bilingual virtual assistants.
Okay. All right.
Awesome. Now, Glenn, out of curiosity on this,
Yeah.
on the language, what kind of languages do we have?
So, Spanish and English is obviously our most common. We've gotten, I want to say we had one virtual assistant that we had to do some special searching for. I think it was German. Um, Typically, though, I'd say 99% of our languages fall between English and Spanish, though.
Okay, got it.
If it is a specialty, like there was an agent we were working with a little while ago. She was working with a lot of Mandarin Chinese Medicare beneficiaries, so she had to do a lot of she'd like call a translation service and then they would have to translate for her so she could write the applications. So if it's a situation like that where you do have kind of a niche of a specific language that you're working with and it's not English or Spanish, we can definitely see what we can find out. So again, great question though.
Okay. So there you go, guys. If you want to hire, if you have a lot of Spanish speaking clientele and you don't speak the language, you want somebody to help you with that, there's an opportunity.
Yes, Luis. And does the price change?
The cost for English and Spanish is the same.
Okay. All right.
Perfect. Again, there's my link in the chat, guys. Pull it up, consider using them. It's a heck of a lot cheaper than hiring somebody. And Glenn's not kidding. At the McDonald's right up the road, they got a sign at the damn drive-through, 18 an hour. Now,
Yes.
most people don't want to sit there and actually work at McDonald's and flip a burger or check the fries. Okay, I mean, yeah, but still, that's the kind of money they're paying at McDonald's. And you're going to get somebody here for probably half of that amount. One of the things that I liked about the VA is I get a daily report. Hey, here's what I did today. And it was outlined. Cool. Hey, maybe because they're virtual, they're remote, maybe you want to get a midday report. Hey, what's going on? Maybe you want to get an end of day report. You tell them what you want so that you can stay on top of them. Hey, what did you accomplish today? Who did you talk to? Keep me in the loop. They'll do anything you ask them to do.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. Again, kind of the SOPs like I was talking about earlier, having a standard operating procedure in place. And with my very first hire, with my very first virtual assistant, that was exactly something I put into place is at the end of the day, I need you to recap just so we're both on the same page, right? Because obviously I get busy, the virtual assistant gets busy. So getting that daily report of, hey, this is what I was working on today. And we still do a ton of daily reporting with all sorts of staff members. That way we know what's going on. And because again, we are all so busy. So yeah, that's great point, Luis.
Yeah, super busy. I mean, and here's the deal, guys. A lot of y'all are afraid to spend that money. And it's a leap of faith because I will just tell you this from being in this business almost 25 years. It will hit 25 this December. Okay, damn, man. I tell you, I don't look that old, man, but I sometimes I feel it, Glenn. But 25 years,
Dude, you
the
look
reason
better than me, man. You look like Benjamin Button. You're aging in reverse compared to me. That's what I would
yeah,
say.
well, if I put my head down, you'll notice. No, not that good. All right. All right. I got a little spot right here, man. I try to keep it hidden. I put the camera down low so it's looking
Okay,
up.
smart, smart.
There you
I'm
go.
gonna
There
use
you
that
go.
trick. Okay, yeah.
Or the next is going to be the little spray can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let's
Yeah. Something's coming here soon. But let me tell you
yeah.
guys, it is uh uh an investment. Okay. You shouldn't look at it as, oh, I'm losing a sum of money. Hell no. Look at it as investment. Man, that quarterly $9 an hour, I ran the math on that. That's 4,300 a quarter times four. That's $17,000 a year. Where in the hell are you going to find somebody for $18,000 a year, guys? It's not going to happen. I interviewed a girl yesterday that I need to have here because of my call center that I have on the ACA side. She wants 40K minimum.
Yeah.
Like, dang, she's good. She's a little whippersnapper, young little girl. I'm like, God, how am I going to figure out 40K? I could maybe use 2 to 3 virtual assistants to maybe make up what she does. So it's a challenge. It's just kind of like a rabbit hole. Once you go down this route, you're like, I may not want to hire physical people. And but it kind of depends. Any other
The,
questions,
the,
guys? Go ahead,
the
Glenn.
annual is really powerful, that annual dollar amount, because again, it's how do you hire someone at $17,000 a year here in the US? I mean, that's so yeah, and then it becomes, if you're that cost comparison, like Luis is saying, is like, is this person here stateside who's going to come sit in my office, are they worth 2 to 3 virtual assistants, right? Because they might want 40 or 50K a year. And you might be able to hire almost 3 virtual assistants for the same cost as one person coming to sit in your office. So that's when you can really start to see the ROI, right? Is not only are you
And
buying your time back.
here's the other
Yeah.
deal. A lot of you guys that have never hired somebody, you got to deal about payroll taxes, guys. That's
Oh,
another additional cost. So with
yes.
Glenn and these virtual assistants, you're just paying that dollar amount and that's it. Well, when you hire somebody and they're a W-2 employee, you are matching their Social Security, FICA, whatever other freaking taxes that they charge you. You're paying half of that crap. And
Yep.
so that's another additional cost on top of the base or salary that you're paying. So something else to possibly consider, a big plus for the virtual assistants. So, and sometimes, guys, you just got to bite the bullet. You got to say, you know what, I'm going to do it. Let's say you go the part-time route, okay? $11, and you get them for 80 hours. That's 880 bucks. That's 80 hours. Maybe you divvy it up 20 hours a week. So for almost a little less than $900, 20 hours a week, what could this person do for you that could take off 20 hours off your time in that week? That's 5 hours a day so that you could go focus on other activities that make you more money. Just think about that. Okay, setting appointments. Hey, calling your existing clients, cross-selling. They can call Mrs. Jones. Mrs. Jones, hey, here's your Aetna, your Medicare policy, blah, 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 blah. Hey, by the way, we noticed you did not get a hospital indemnity plan. Most of Luis's clients get a hospital indemnity. Why didn't you get a hospital indemnity? Did Luis screw up and not offer it to you? Okay. Because he does that. He's getting a little old. He forgets things. You know what? He didn't offer to me. You know what? I'm going to whoop his ass. You're right. You know what? But I'm going to get him to give you a call. You definitely need to have this. And finally, Mrs. Jones, we've got no record of you having some kind of final expense policy. Tell me that you've got something. Oh, I don't. Oh my goodness. You know what? I'm going to tell Luis also to get on that. He'll help you out. He's got a bunch of different companies. He'll help you find that final expense. Hey, by the way, what's a good time for him to call you? I'm going to send him a message right now to give him a call. Boom, done. They move on to the next one. So they could probably make that money up for you that you're paying them.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, I
And
think I think it's easy to get that zero out, like you're saying. The I know I'm going to win in the long run mentality of being an agent, being an agency owner, knowing that if you can retain that client, knowing that if they can set appointments for you so you can go sell more. I think calling your existing book of business to cross set appointments for other lines of insurance, like you just said, I think that's a huge underrated task that a lot of agents are missing on. If you have a book of final expense clients and you want to talk to them about something like dental, vision, hearing, short-term care, Medicare supplement, I mean, all sorts of stuff that they could set for you. It's
And
a
let's go the ACA
easy.
route, Glenn.
Yeah,
Hey, you
yeah.
call your ACA clients, they try to get the eligibility requirements, but I had virtual assistant letting them know, hey, your ACA policy doesn't cover dental and vision. Hey, do you need a dental and vision plan? And then which if they said yes, she goes, you know what? I'm going to email you the link because they have a self-enrollment link.
There you
Check it
go.
out. Or do you want Luis to give you a call? I'm just hoping, please don't tell you I'm going to give you a call. That's how I got sleep. You know what? Hey, here's my link. Go in and enroll. Okay. Then the other deal is I had to go one more step. Hey, Mr. Jones, you have an out of pocket. Do you know what your out of pocket is? And they're like, no. Well, let me just tell you, more than likely, if you have the lowest out of pocket, probably going to pay a couple of $1,000. Okay, but it can go as high as
Yep.
$9,000. Do you have an indemnity plan that will take care of that in case you have an accident or a hospital or are hospitalized? No. You know what? Man, Luis probably forgot to offer to you. I'm going to let him know that you're interested in. Is that okay? And you proceed. So there's a lot of cross-selling that they can do for you as well as maintaining the account. We do have a couple of questions here on the chat. From
Fire away.
Marcy, what type of software tool do you mean? Marcy, well, what? It's not a software that we're talking about here. It's hiring virtual assistants. Somebody it's a physical person. It's not a bot. It's a physical
Well,
person.
software, it may be on the page. I don't know if you saw this. So we have software that helps connect you with your virtual assistant. If this is what I'm not sure if this is exactly what you're mentioning, but we actually built this in-house. This allows you to chat with your virtual assistant, send stuff back and forth. You can actually see what they're working on. So it's taking pictures of their screen. So you know they're not just watching Netflix. You can actually assign tasks, prioritize tasks in here. So this is just software. And again, when you click sign up and you submit your information, you'll actually be able to get in here and kind of see this firsthand. But yeah, maybe that was the question we had there. Any other questions?
Yeah, I think that's the deal. And here's the other deal. I didn't use the software. I'm so tapped out, guys. I just told the girl, just WhatsApp me. And then I told her, I said, you don't have to WhatsApp me. I trust you now. I mean, after a while, she was like, Luis, I'm going on a 5-minute coffee break. I'm like, well, I don't need to know. Shit, my people go take a half-hour coffee break. They're in the back room, blah, 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 blah. I gotta go back in there. Like, this is not a party. Get your asses to work. Let's go. But 5-minute coffee break. She was like, I gotta go to the restroom. I'm like, it's okay. Just go, go take care of your business and come back.
Yeah.
I don't need to know. So they can be as interactive as you want them to, or not. But I used the WhatsApp. She just texted
Yeah,
me back and
you
forth.
I think it's important to say you don't have to utilize this software if you don't want to. This is an option that's available. It'll always be there. You know, you'll have a login, so it'll always be there if you ever want to check it out or utilize it. Something basic to help connect and kind of manage your virtual assistant. We also have someone on our end that's helping manage them too. So we got an extra set of eyes on this. That's part of the benefit of working with a staffing company like Hire Heroes.
So, and then here's the other deal, guys. What I do like is this is, and correct me if I'm wrong, the focus is for insurance agents on the staffing.
Yes,
Or is
yes.
it open to, I guess, whatever proprietary
So
business you want?
we can definitely go outside of insurance, but we have a lot of training internally that they've already been through that's insurance specific. So they come out the box with a baseline of insurance understanding. Again, we're trying to cut down the ramp for you guys. We want this person to get handed off to you and they're making you money as quickly as possible. That's literally the process, right?
There you go. So, yeah, there's always that initial downtime. When I hire somebody, I give myself 2 to 3 months where they're not going to make me any money. It's an investment. And then at
Yeah.
that point, I'm like, all right, buddy, you got to start banking. You got to start selling some policies. We got to make sure that this is happening. Of course, I want to shorten that out because I'm out money. But yeah, it is what it is. All right. Well, if there are no other further questions, guys, and Glenn, number one, thank you for coming on. There's
Of
always
course.
a ton of tools that agents can utilize to help them grow. Hiring is huge, guys. I see a lot of agents quit. You out of the business, they get washed out. It's just too much. You've got to hire for things that you don't like to do or things that don't make you a lot of money. Okay, hire those people out, focus on the income producing, the high revenue producing activities, and you'll prosper. You will grow.
I love it. Luis, thank you so much for having me. You guys, if you're looking for a virtual assistant, please use the link that Luis posted in the chat. And someone from our team will follow up with you almost immediately today. You'll get a message from someone here within the hour. And yeah, any other questions or concerns, please, nobody hesitate to reach out. Again, Luis, thank you so much for your time and having me, and we'll talk again soon.
Sounds good. All right, guys. Y'all have a great one. Bye-bye. Thanks again, Glenn.